Let's get into some sports talk. I think I was going to start with some baseball and softball and all that, but we already got them on. So I figure, let's just talk some bridge lacrosse. So joining us now, and let me make sure he's ready. So David, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Hey, can't complain. Can't complain. As you may have been listening, got my wedding coming up, so excited about.
Congrats.
Thank you, thank you. So I'm excited about that, and talking about excitement. I mean, I want to talk about the Bridge just organization as a whole at first, but you got a lot of things to be excited about at Bridge. So before we talk about what happened in the last few weeks with Bridge Lacrosse, just what is Bridge Lacrosse? What kind of organization is it? What do you guys do? Stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, I appreciate the opportunity to be here and chat and catch everyone up on what we do. So, we are defined as a sports-based youth development nonprofit. Our mission is to use the sport of lacrosse to broaden horizons of youth. And so what that means for us and a lot of people in the lacrosse community is we believe there are very unique benefits to the sport that don't always exist in how we define as under-resourced communities. So, if we can get a kid hooked into the sport of lacrosse because it's fun and engaging, we think there's other opportunities and new horizons for kids to explore from the sport. So that's ultimately our goal is to open up doors for kids in areas that maybe the doors don't exist, organically.
And real quick, how long has Bridge been around for? I don't remember if we ever talked about that before in the past.
Oh goodness, yeah. So we have a interesting genesis. Programming started with a group of volunteers as early as 2003, and I think about 2008 is when we officially kind of incorporated as a nonprofit as Bridge Lacrosse. So there were people and volunteers doing the work well before the actual organization of Bridge Lacrosse was kind of defined.
Got it. And now just talk to me. Tell the viewers and I know you just briefly explained what the organization is. How is Bridge Lacrosse different from, I mean, you see the high school teams, I'm in Austin, so you're Westlake, Lake Travis. What makes Bridge so much more unique than just your typical high school lacrosse clubs?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for us, it all starts with our mission and our culture. And, we know that other school teams and other associations have, great cultures, great missions. We're very unique in that lacrosse is a sport that's not often associated with the neighborhoods and the communities we're in. It typically lacrosse sort of stereotype or background is more affluent white communities. Most of our kids come from low income backgrounds. Title I type schools and neighborhoods that tend to be majority black and brown. And so, for us to bring lacrosse to those communities, I think is a very unique aspect of this community and the lacrosse world. And so, in addition to just really regular lacrosse programming and competition, we also serve a lot of other needs. We do a lot of enrichment and academic work along with sort of the traditional lacrosse season in the spring and the fall.
And now let's move on to the exciting news, which is, I mean, you got the girls and the boys champions. If I read that right, I know the boys won because we streamed that game, but your girls also are the champions. Is that correct?
That's correct. So, the last few weeks have been absolutely wild, on top of an already, wild season and challenging and unique season. So our boys did finish as the Class D state champions. We went from two back-to-back winless seasons to a state championship, which has been unreal. And we've gotten a lot of support and a lot of praise from the lacrosse community and people around who have supported us over the years. And then a couple weeks prior, maybe a week and a half, our girls won the Division III championship. And so Division III is a little bit newer. Our girls made a run that ended with a championship against Bishop Lynch. I believe it was about a week and a half before the boys. So yeah, we have two champions, two varsity championship teams. It's incredibly exciting and the love and support has been unreal from everyone.
And it wasn't just going from two kind of winless seasons to the championship, but y'all did pretty good, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a couple of weeks since I looked over our record, but wasn't it only like a handful of losses this year on the men's side?
We definitely, really came out of the gate, in January, February, really playing strong. Both teams, our girls ended with 7-1 record, boys ended with a 7-2 record. They went undefeated the boys went undefeated in their district. And it was, it was exciting. So, we knew that both teams coming into this year were incredibly strong. We have in a very deep class of 2021 class on both teams. So we knew early on that, these were pretty talented teams. We didn't know, obviously, that, they would end with, in the fashion that they did, but with a really deep senior core group on both sides, we figured we could play maybe a little bit better than we had in the past. And especially on our boys side, there wasn't much worse we could do, given the first 2 years or the previous 2 years.
Scotty, I don't want to steal all the thunder. You got any questions for David? You're muted again, Scotty.
I have a terrible habit of putting myself on the mute button and forgetting about it. So I apologize, David. Yeah, David, this is Scott here. Really, I'm just kind of curious, how do you grow lacrosse? Because in my opinion, lacrosse is one of the fastest growing sports, at least in the state of Texas, really popular up in the Northeast and on the East Coast. But what is it about lacrosse that attracts kids to play the sport?
Growth for us, it comes in many fashions, So one of the things that we're very focused on is just the word of mouth recruiting. So we have incredible families who have been involved and engaged with the organization for years. Our senior class, for example, a lot of them started when they were third and fourth graders. And when you've invested that much time into an organization, the word kind of spreads. So our parents and our families and our kids are our greatest advocates in recruiting, new families and new players, and they're bringing their coworkers, friends, and their neighbors, or classmates, or teammates from other teams. We rely very heavily on that kind of word of mouth recruiting, and then on the other side, there's me in carpool lanes. We're running clinics in rec centers. I'm very fortunate that this is my full-time gig, and a large part of my job description is making sure we always have kids around to play lacrosse and get them involved in our programming. So I would say our success and growth has been primarily in the word of mouth. We have a great culture. We really start with that, and that attracts these families to stay for the long term. And then they ultimately help us recruit their networks and the people around them. We do run year-round programming, which helps a lot too. So over the summer, we're recruiting. During the fall, winter months, we're recruiting. We've always got some level of programming going on that kids can engage with.
David, talk to me real quick. I know you talk about your program is largely built on word of mouth and recruiting. What was that like for you and I know you said you had a very stacked 2021 class, but what was that like for you during this COVID time of, you're not your typical lacrosse program. You don't have your own field to practice on and all this stuff. What were some of the struggles as the executive director for you and just your club in general to combat these COVID times and then come out on top as the champions?
Yeah, that's a great question. The biggest challenge for us is, we serve a demographic that tends to be marginalized in a handful of different ways. And so the first step for us was just addressing the basic needs of our families and understanding what their needs were. So we did have a lot of families with economic issues, with food security issues. And so we wanted to make sure we addressed those first and at least understood what their challenges were. And then we can kind of talk about lacrosse, which kind of came obviously later in the summer and fall. And the challenges around the lacrosse side were just simply, how comfortable were kids getting back onto the field? How comfortable were families being back around other people? We made sure that we had a lot of structure built in and that we took safety very, very seriously so that parents felt, relatively confident in what we were doing so that their kids could come back and play lacrosse. So, there were a lot of different challenges that I think were unique to the demographic we serve versus maybe other lacrosse associations or schools. But I think it goes back to that culture. And when we said, hey, this is what we're going to try to do, and here's kind of the reasoning and the guidelines and parameters, we had a lot of families who said, we're confident in what you're doing, and, we'll be back in for fall ball, or we'll run this team, or we'll be at this practice. So, those challenges were tough, and as we rolled into the spring, we lost a lot of kids. We lost about 25-30% of our kids from the previous season. Attendance and things like that were down across the board. We played fewer games, but ultimately the culture of what we do and the trust and from the families was kind of what got us through it. And through that we built together 2 championship teams and found a lot of commitment because of the challenges that our kids were kind of facing day to day.
Yeah, and something I want to. Oh, go ahead, Scott. I think you're muted again, Scott. We'll get you. We'll get you there, Scott. We'll get you there eventually.
Dadgummit, it happened again. Okay, so David, I apologize for that. So I'm curious what it's like not only building a program, but building a championship program. I mean, winning the state championships in not only the boys and the girls. That's awesome. It's one tackle, for lack of a better word. It's one tackle to build up a program, but to also make that into a championship program. How are you able to do that and build that culture?
Oh man, yeah. I think this year we really found the kids who were committed to lacrosse, and I think that's what made the winning and the outcome on the field so much different this year. Is we had the kids who were even through COVID, I'm going to come back, I'm going to be part of this team, I'm going to play. That was the first step. Who's even coming back to put together a team that wants to win and wants to play at a high level. Everything has been, I've been at this for almost 10 years now, and the organization's been around, almost 2 decades. So much of this, of our championship and the outcomes on the field have just come from long-term commitment. This is not something that we ever thought would ever happen overnight. And really the winning is not ultimately our end goal. The wins and losses, really don't factor into a lot of the conversations as coaches, as an organization. It's simply what can we do? What can lacrosse do for kids that maybe they don't have? And if we can win games, that's a great luxury, or that's a great kind of bonus. But when you chip away and you believe in the process and you have kids that buy in, you have great coaches who buy in, the winning kind of comes organically. And then I think that's what happened with us, is that, we were never really intentional about trying to win a championship. But you had all of these pieces that have been working together in tandem for the last 10 plus years. And somehow, some way, we found a way to get to that last game of the playoffs. So, it's little things along the way. It's great people. I've got incredible coaches. I put my coaching staff against anyone out there, any other program out there. And that's been a big part of it, as cliche as it sounds, it's trusting the process. And, if we don't put everything into winning the championship game, we can do a lot of little things a lot of other greater things along the way. And then winning might just happen, which it did.
And I think you put that beautifully, David, is that at the end of the day, it's not about winning. It's about, growing character and individuals. And I, just from what I've seen interacting with you guys, because for those that don't know, I mean, we kind of have, I would say, somewhat of a partnership. So, I mean, we have actually one of your I don't know if you want to call it students, but I would say a student in general, Daniela, who's one of our VYPE ambassadors. She does amazing work, by the way. So if you don't know, go check her out at VYPE.com, VYPU. Just search VYPU and her stuff will come up. She covers Bridge Lacrosse better than anyone. But I mean, you just grow great people. I mean, that's what it's all about. If all you care about is winning, I think that reflects on the program. Or if you care about the people, I think that also reflects on the program. And I think you do a great job of that. To close some stuff out here, I know you do have a couple of things coming up. I don't know if you want to you go ahead and promote that. I know you got that. What's it called? The game where the players play the coaches and all that. You have that coming up still? Is that still a go?
No, unfortunately, it's not. COVID has kind of wreaked havoc on a lot of venues, and so there's a couple things we're not able to pull off, at least for this year, including that game, which is a big charity kind of fundraising game for us. There's a couple camps we're not running, so we're still kind of feeling the effects of COVID and some of the concerns around safety. I'm confident that the majority of our programming and what we do best it will happen, but there's a few little bumps along the way, even as, Texas kind of returns to normal. So unfortunately, no to that charity game. But we do have some other things coming up. We've got a lot of great programming we're going to run with the kids. We're getting ready to reset, for our new year. And we have some big plans to maintain the confidence level in our kids, who won state and see off, almost 30 seniors to college. And make sure they're taken care of as they start their next chapter. So a lot of stuff on the table for us. It's been an exciting few weeks for sure, but there's certainly more to come.
Now, I know you said that event's not happening, but if someone wants to get a hold of you or the organization, what are a few ways that they can do that?
Yeah, so the biggest one is our website. We try to keep as much information up there as we can. So our website, which is bridgelacrossedallas.org. we have plenty of presence on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all Bridge Lacrosse. Occasionally I'll post something on TikTok. It's not really my forte. So there's always an avenue there. But, those three main social media sites are kind of our go-to. And then, of course, our website. And then my email address, which is just david@bridgelacrossedallas.org, is also a great way to get a hold of me.
And I've actually got the website on the stream right now. I know you can't see it, David, or maybe you're watching and have it on mute, but there it is. So definitely go check out the website, see how you can get involved if you want to help out. Like I said, they definitely don't have their fundraising event this year. So any way you want to help out, go ahead and do that. David, that is all the time we have for you today, but thank you for coming on. I know we love what Bridge is doing. We love Daniela over at VYPE. So, hopefully y'all can rebuild and be back in that championship next year.
Absolutely. Thanks, gentlemen. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Have a good one, David.
Take care, guys.